wanted to come down here and see for myself what it actually looked like. I've tried to film here a few times, but it's always so busy and noisy that the audio is usually garbage and it doesn't really work out. But today, I feel like this is my own private train station. I'm not sure how this looks to the rest of the world. I think for other European countries, it's not so strange. I mean, when I was living in Italy, we had pretty frequent rail strikes, but they weren't as long as this one. To be clear, there are some trains still running, but it's much reduced service, and basically they told you not to travel because it's going to be ridiculously crowded, so only travel if you need to. If you're from North America, you might be thinking, what is rail service and what is a strike? I remember the first time I ever came to Munich, one of the things that I was most impressed with were the trains. I was traveling here with my buddy Brian. We were here for Oktoberfest, but during our stay, we really wanted to go check out the Alps because neither of us had ever been there before, and they look so beautiful in movies and stuff like that. Of course, we didn't have a car at the time, but we found out it was super easy to just take the train. And I remember one of the first things that surprised at least me the most was just how quiet they were, because they were running all on electricity, no diesel locomotives or anything like that. And I also remember them being very clean, and it was neat because you could just take any train. Like, I think they ran every hour down to Garmisch-Partenkirchen, and it was just so much different than any experience that we'd had before in the States. If you've ever traveled to the U.S. and taken Amtrak in the Northeast, around New York or Boston or anything like that, it's a very different experience. And that was one of the lasting impressions of Germany, was their infrastructure. And I still think about it today. Because, again, it's so unlike anything we had growing up. Growing up, to get anywhere, you really need a car, and trains were not very common. And if you did see trains, it was freight trains hauling coal or oil or something like that. It wasn't used for passenger rail. But the weird thing is, 100 years ago, it would be completely normal to take trains to get around in the U.S. I grew up in a small town outside of Albany, capital of New York State, and it's not a city unlike many others across the states, where we had rail connecting the city with all of the surrounding towns, and also inside the city we had trolleys and streetcars. And that meant you didn't really need a car to get around, and it was certainly faster than a horse and buggy. Fast forward to the 1950s, post-war America, and things had started to change. We actually had a massive project in our city where we bulldozed an entire neighborhood to build a massive plaza of state office buildings that required bulldozing even more neighborhoods to have a highway running directly to it from the suburbs. This meant that you could drive from your house in the suburbs directly to your office and never actually have to set foot outside into the city. And it completely changed the face of the city. And if you fast forward to today, practically nobody lives in the city of Albany, and at least not in the downtown area where people used to live. Now that is literally a ghost town come 5 p.m. on Friday. Everybody leaves, everybody goes home to the suburbs, and it's just dead. That was the reality I grew up in. And then when I come to Munich, I realize you can live in a city, and it can be really nice. And that's really enabled by the trains. They can get you around very quickly without needing a car or anything else. It probably will sound strange to people, but the public infrastructure and the way the city is designed is one of the main reasons I wanted to move here. I mean, I love the parks, I love being close to the mountains, but I also just love having the ability to get around without a car. What's really scary is after visiting the Munich City Museum here, I realized that Munich could have gone down the same route that many cities in the States also did. I used to use this rail station pretty much every day last year. Looks completely deserted today. And it's a weekday. This is not a Sunday. My opinion is a little different than that of most Americans. I think the S-Bahn does an incredible job connecting the larger Munich metro area. something that we definitely don't have where I grew up, and we didn't have it in where I was living in Italy either. I think it's fairly unique in the world, and yeah, it needs to be appreciated. It's pretty hard to describe just how quiet it is here. Let's hope it doesn't stay that way. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.